Good day everyone. Good day mom. I am Jovel P. Sagusay from BCHM 3B and this is my chapter 8 entitled Laws Regulating Accommodation Establishment. So hotels nowadays simulated the ambience of home ante from home. Thus, it should be clean, comfortable, functional, and safe. By Farid Shosker, former General Manager of Hunt Regency in Manila. So before we proceed to the report, here's the list of the learning objectives. So first is to identify the laws affecting the accommodation sector and identify the rights of hotel guests and explain how quality and safety standards are maintained by hotels and similar establishments by meeting minimum requirements of the law. So is the topic outline. So first is the nature and description of the business, building permit, general requirements of all buildings by use of occupancy, light and ventilation, sanitation, general design, and construction requirements. So first is the nature and description of business. Business entities engaged in the operation of tourist accommodation establishment may be organized as a single proprietorship, as a partnership of corporation. So first, hotel. A hotel building identify or premises or completely independent part thereof which is used for a regular reception, accommodation or lodging of traveler and tourist of provision of services incidental therefore a free. Second, resort. Any place or places with pleasant environment and atmosphere conducive to comfort, healthful relaxation and rest, offering food, sleeping accommodation and recreation facilities to the public for a fee or remuneration. Third, tourist inn. A lodging establishment catering to transit which does not meet the minimum requirements of an economy hotel. Next is the apartel. Any building or edifice containing several independent and furnished of semi-furnished apartments regularly leased to a tourist and traveler for dwelling on a more or less long-term basis and offering basis services to each tenant similar to hotel. This type of accommodation is something called service apartment. Next, pension house. A private or family-operated tourist or boarding house, a tourist guest house or tourist lodging house, exploring non-professional domestic helper regularly catering to tourists and travelers, containing several independent letterable rooms, providing common facilities such as toilet, bathrooms, showers, living and dining rooms and or kitchen and where a combination of board and lodging may be provided. Next is the motorist hotel or motel. So, any structure with several separated units primarily located along the highway with individual or common parking space at which motorists may obtain lodging and eat some instant meal. Hotel. So hotel are hereby classified into following categories, namely. So first is the deluxe class. So it is previously known as the 5-star category. Second is the first class, is known for a 4-star category. Then standard class is known for a 3-star category. Then economy class is known for a 2-star category. Next is classification of hotels. Is based on a number of criteria such as location, bedroom facilities and furnishing with emphasis on dimensions, front office reception service, housekeeping standard, food and beverage service, recreation facilities or swimming pool, golf, squash or gym facilities, engineering and maintenance, service and staff, general facilities such as roof garden, spacious common terrace, parking space and valet service, conference room, banquet hall, barber shop, duty, activity travel agency, beauty parlor, laundry shop, security and medical clinic, and special facilities such as limousine service, business center, and airport transfer. Next is resort. So a resort may be categorized as beach resort located along the seashore, an inland resort or located within the town proper or city, island resort or located in natural and man-made island within the internal water of the Philippine archipelago, lakeside or riverside resort located along the near and bank of the lake or river. A mountain resort is located on the near mountain of hill or theme park. So resort shall be classified as follow. So here, first one is class and triple A. Next is class double A, then class A, then special and terrace resort. Classification of resort is based on location and environment, parking, facilities and room accommodation, public washroom, sports and recreation facilities, conference convention facilities, employee facilities, lunch and reception counter, and lighting, furnishing, or ventilation. Next is the motorist hotel or motel. Aside from complying with the minimum requirements for the establishment, operation, and maintenance of the motel, all motel are required to keep a motel registry book or staffing as the following particular. So the first is the full name, address, number, date and place of issue of residence certificate or class A or driver license or passport. In addition, the motel management is required to maintain a separate logbook of the plate number of the vehicles or car used for customer or guests coming into a living a motel. On departure of the guest, the motel clerk shall record in the registry book that the date of hour of their departure. Next is the accreditation or accommodation establishment by the Department of Tourism. Accreditation by the Department of Tourism, although not mandatory in nature, increases the marketability of an accommodation establishment. Any person, partnership, corporation, or another entity desiring to secure an accreditation from Department of Tourism shall accomplish in duplicate and file with the department the application prescribed for such purpose. Next is the application shall be accompanied by 2 copies of the following document. So first, in case of corporation or partnership, a certified true copy of the article of incorporation, its bylaw or article of partnership and amendments thereof, duly registered with the Security and Exchange Commission, and business name certificate in case of single proprietorship, business name certificate and amendments thereof if any. Second is applicant's latest income tax return and audit financial statement for a preceding year of its operation and not applicable for new establishment. Next is list of name of all official and employees under respective designation, nationalities, home address for aligned personnel, valid visa from the Bureau of Immigration, and the appropriate permit for the Department of Labor and Employment. Next is the mayor permit and or municipal license. Next is suggest other papers or document may be required from the time by the department. Next is the ground for cancellation of accreditation. Any of the following act, omission, or offenses shall constitute sufficient ground for the cancellation of accreditation. So first is making any false declaration of statement of making use of any such declaration of statement or any document containing the same of commitment, fraud, or any act of misrepresentation for the purpose of obtaining the insurance of accreditation. Second is failure to comply with a contravene any of the conditions set forth in the certificate of accreditation. Failure to meet the standard and requirements for the operation of the establishment. Next is allowing or permitting the establishment of each facility to be used for illegal, immoral, or illicit activities. Next is violation of or non-compliance with any of the provision of the rules promulgated order. Decisions are securely issued by the department and other concerned agency. Next is the responsibility of accommodation establishment. Accommodation establishment must exercise due diligence not only in the selection of its employees but also in serving the needs of its customer. Failure to do some warrant and conclusion that the management had been remiss in complying with the obligation imposed upon hotel keeper under the law. So under the Article 1170 of the new Civil Code, those who is the performance of their obligation are guilty or negligence are liable for damages. As to who shall bear the burden of paying damage, or the Article 2180 or paragraph 4 of the same code provides that the owner and manager of the establishment or enterprise are likewise responsible for the damages caused by their employees in the service of the branches in which is latter are employed or to the occasion or their function. Thus, if an employee is found negligent, it is presumed that the employer was negligent in selecting and supervising him, for it is hard for the victim to prove the negligence of such an employer. Next is National Building Code of the Philippines. So the National Code of Building Code of the Philippines, or Presidential Decree 1906 on February 1977 was adopted in view of the country's accelerating economic and physical development coupled with urbanization and population growth. The National Building Code of the Philippines, or NBCP, contains up-to-date and modern technical knowledge on the building design, construction, use, occupancy, and maintenance. The law. In Section 10.4, General Building Requirements, or the General Building Requirements are all building or structure as well as accessory facilities thereof shall conform in all respect to the principle of safe construction and must be suited to the purpose of which they are designed. Next is building of structure intended to be used for the manufactures and or production of kind of article or product shall observe environmental safeguard. Next is building or structure and all parts thereof as well as all facilities found therein shall be maintained in safe and sanitary and good working condition. In Section 10.5, Site or Requirements, the land of the site upon which will be constructed any building or structure or any auxiliary or ancillary facility thereto shall be sanitary or hygienic or safe. In case of the site or building intended for use of human habitation or adobe, the same shall be safe of distance as determined by competent authorities from stream or bodies of water and source of air condition of unpolluted from the volcano or volcanic site and or any other building considered to be a potential source of fire and explosion. So, the following laws, rules, and regulations are the vital in enforcing the National Building Code of the Philippines. So, the first one is Code on Sanitation of the Philippines, or the Presidential Decree 856. And next is the Ecological Solid Waste Management Act on 2000, or the RA 9003, and Fire Code of the Philippines, or the Presidential Decree 1185, and the Philippine Environmental Code, or PD 1152, and Environmental Impact System, or PID, or the Presidential Decree 1586, and the rules and regulation to govern an accreditation of hotels, tourist inns, apartels, resorts, pension houses, and other accommodation establishment by the Department of Tourism, or DOT, on August 26, 1992, And lastly, the law of enhanced mobility of disabled person, or the BP 344. Next is the general requirements of all buildings by use of occupancy. So, in section 74 or 704, location on property, a general number building shall be constructed unless in adjoined or has a direct access to the public space, yard, or street on the least one of its sides, or fire resistance, or wall interior, or wall shall have a 5 resistance and opening protection. So here is the discussion of law. So accommodation establishment belong to the Group B occupancy under the National Building Code. Accordingly, it shall consist of multiple dwelling unit including the boarding or lodging houses, hotels, apartment buildings, and other similar buildings which accommodate more than 10 people. The foregoing provision gives the general requirements for the location of property to be established. Next is the light and ventilation. So, in Article 801, or the general requirements of light and ventilation, subject to a provision of the Civil Code of the Philippines and easement to a light and view, and to the provision of this part of that code, that every building shall be designed, constructed, and equipped to provide adequate light and ventilation. And also, all buildings shall face a street or public alley or a private street which has been duly approved. Next is according to the Article 806, site and dimensions of rooms. So, minimum sizes of rooms are their least horizontal dimension shall be as follows. So, the first one is rooms for human habitation, or 6 square meters with the least dimension of 2 meters. Next is kitliar, or the 3 square meters with last dimension of 1.50 meters. Bath and toilet, 1.20 square meters with at least dimensions of 0.90 meters. Next is according to Article 807, or airspace requirements in determining the size of room. So first is the minimum airspace shall be provided as follow. So the first one is cool room, or the 1100 cubic meter with 1 square meter of floor aligned per person. Then workshop, factories, and offices, or 12 cubic meters of airspace per person. Then habitable nose, of 14 cubic meter of airspace per person. Then, according to the Article 808, or window opening, every room intended for in use or not provided with the artificial ventilation system as specified in the code shall be provided with the window or windows with a total fee area of opening equal of at least 10% of the floor area of room, and such windows shall open directly to a courtyard, public street or alley, or open water courses. Next is according to 811, or the artificial ventilation. Whenever artificial ventilation is required, the equipment shall be designed and constructed to meet the following minimum requirements in air changes. Next is for rooms entities about grade and use of bakeries, hotel or restaurant kitchen, laundries, or other than accessories to dwelling, and boiler rooms not less than 10 charges of air per hour or shall be provided. So, discussion of law. So, light and ventilation is refers to an easement of natural light and allowance of circulation of fresh air or unobstructed by erection and construction. The foregoing provision gives the minimum requirements to allow light and ventilation within the building. Next is the sanitation. So, in section 901, or the general requirements, subject to provision of Book 2 of the Civil Code of the Philippines in property, ownership, and its modification, all buildings hereafter erected, altered, remodeled, relocated or repaired of human habitation shall be provided with adequate potable water supply, plumbing installation, and suitable wastewater treatment or disposal system, storm water drainage, peace and birthing control, noise abatement or device, and such other mission required for the protection and promotion of health of person occupying a premises and other living nearby. So, discussion of law. Whenever available of the potable water requirements of the building used for the human habitation shall be supplied for existing municipal or city water work system. In case of drinking water from underground sources, it must conform to be a criteria set to the latest approved national standard for the drinking water. Such design, construction, and operation of the deep well for the abstraction of water, groundwater shall subject to provision of the Water Code of the Philippines. The water piping installation inside the building and the premises must conform to the provision of the National Plumbing Code of the Philippines. Sanitary sewage from buildings shall be discharged directly into the nearest street sanitary main sewer under existing the municipal or the city sanitary sewages system in accordance with the criteria set by the Code on Sanitation and National Pollution Control Commission. Next is the general design and construction requirements. So according to the section 1201, general requirements of building proposed for the construction shall comply with all the regulation and specification herein set for governing quality, characteristic, and properties of materials, method of design and construction, and type of occupancy and classification. So all matter relative to the structural design of all buildings and other structures not provided for this chapter shall conform with the provision of the National Structure Code of the Philippines as adopted and promulgated by the Board of Civil Engineering pursuant to Republic Act No. 344 as amended, otherwise known as the Civil Engineering Law. So, in discussion of law, subject to approbation of the Article 684 and the 686 for the Civil Code of the Philippines on the literal and subject of support that design that quality of the material used structurally in excavation, footing, and in foundation of shall conform to accept engineering practice. Next is the registration of guests and occupants. So, the Civil Code of the Philippines give provision for necessary deposit made by the traveler in hotel or inns. This implies a need for the registration of guests and or occupant in accommodation establishment. Accordingly, keeping of hotels or inns shall be responsible for the deposit given by the traveler or guest provided notice by given with respect to effect brought by their guests and that the keeper or hotel in inns have taken necessary precaution prescribed regarding this safekeeping. The liability of hotel keeper extend not only to the effect, loss or damages on the hotel rooms but also those loss, damages in hotel and exist, such as garage. In this kind of deposit, the hotel keeper cannot escape liability by posting notices to the effect that he is not liable for the article brought by the guest. Any stipulation limiting and the liability of the hotel keeper shall be void. Next is the National Homestay Program. So, the National Homestay Program is a program of the Department of Tourism which provides travelers with the comfortable accommodation with Filipino families in area near tourist attraction. So, home facilities. So, first is the structure or durable building materials and are in the good presentable condition. Next is the surrounding are pleasant and healthful. Next is there shall be at least one adequately furnished guest room to accommodate paying visitor. And lastly, the following shall be available: the extra bed, adequate light system, running water, or is not available adequate supply of water, clean and well-maintained toilet and bathroom facilities, meals and reasonable rates, electric fans, and other means of ventilation. Next is the waste management. So under the Presidential Decree number 1152, also known as the Environmental Code of the Philippines on June 6, 1977, the dumping or disposal of solid waste into the sea and any body of water in the Philippines, including shorelines and riverbanks, where their waste are likely to be washed into the water is prohibited and might be a ground for the non-renewal and license to operate within the local government unit concerned. It is the responsibility of every province, city, or municipality to province measured to facilitate the collection, transportation, processing, and disposal of waste within its jurisdiction in coordination with other government agencies concerned. And lastly is the security and safety. So according to Department of Tourism Memorandum Circular number 2006-209 series of 2006 on August 23, 2006 constitute the adoption of safety and security measures in hotels, resorts, and other similar accommodation establishment. This is the line with the department trust to ensure the safe, convenient, and enjoyable stay and travel of both local and foreign tourists are mandated by Executive Order 120. Accordingly, failure to comply with such memorandum circular shall be ground for the review of the accreditation of the accommodation establishment concerned. And there I say that the constitutional preamble to establish justice means equal justice for all. And that's all about my report in the chapter 8, and thank you.